Let's make fondue. What do I feel about fondue? I love fondue. I have to say it is like not maybe my desert island dish. I love the chocolate fondues. I like the meat fondues. I love the fish fondues. I love the fondues. I think it's about sharing, really. I mean, obviously the king is cheese, and we're going to make that today. So I've got all the ingredients here. Let's have a look. First, a baguette. We're going to need it. I like it a little bit stale fondue. You need the rigidity in the little pieces. We'll be cutting up that later, and we'll be dipping that into the cheese to make the best of it. So, one baguette. 1 bottle of red wine. I've gone for a Zinfandel. You could argue that the first and most important thing is to put in the glass. Most aficionados will tell you that the best wine to have with fondue is in fact a white wine, which sort of goes against the grain because red wine is the big, red, warm number, and the white wine is the cool summer breeze thing. And you only generally have fondue when it's warm, when you're snug, when there's snow on the ground. So I've gone for a Zinfandel. It's a Californian. It's a and it's got hints of mocha and spice and plum and all sorts of things. Really rich, beautiful. Flavoured. So 1 bottle of red wine. On the alcohol front, we're going to need some kirsch. I got this one off Amazon, actually. It's quite difficult to get kirsch nowadays. It used to be more common. This is a cherry eau de vie, which means it's basically the pure spirit of distilled cherries. It's got a little bit of flavour. It's got a little bit of punch. It's going to give some extra depth to the fondue. We're going to lift it from just being that kind of awesome cheese fattiness, but into a sort of much more aromatic dish. From IKEA, this is my favourite cheese grater. Keeps the cheese in the box like that. 1 lemon. We're going to need a little lemon juice. It adds a little bit of texture to keep the cheese sort of a bit more runny, and the acidity really helps. So we're going to need a lemon. And on the same thing, garlic. Strangely enough, we're going to use the garlic to line the rim of the bowl. I'll show you more about that later. And to keep the cheese liquid and yet continuous, as in we're not going to get separation, a little bit of corn flour or cornstarch. Now, what you say, there's white wine here. Is this for me to drink too? No, we like white wine as the liquid of choice to mix the corn flour and bring the cheeses together. A lot of white wines work. What we've got here is a Semillon. My personal favorite is actually bizarrely a Pinot Grigio. I don't really know why, but this is in my fridge right now. My wife hasn't finished it, so we're using this. I've got 2 fondue kits here, right? The classic. I've just filled it up with methylated spirits. It's a Le Creuset, very straightforward. Okay. I find these are very, very enjoyable for a sharing experience. And I don't know if you're going to be familiar with this. Is a mini fondue. Now, I found these for when I was running my deli. We used to have them on the tables, but we put just a little candle underneath, and these last for a good 15-20 minutes, and they serve me for 1 or 2, which I find absolutely fantastic. This can be a bit of a schlep. Heat a little bit of cheese up, and you get more options in the fondue recipes actually for this little one. So fondues for 1 and 2. Really like these. Okay, some little things. Okay. Last but not least, la fromage, the cheese, right. So I use a sort of 1 to 3 approach. Okay, this is Emmental. This is the absolute classic workhorse of the Alpine cheeses. Not highly flavored, lots of richness, but it's not highly acidic. It's easy to enjoy. It is the most popular cheese in all of France, used in just so many things, either to cook or to make a good sandwich. It's just brilliant, but it's not enough. So it'll give us a body, it'll give us the texture, it'll give us all the stringiness that we're looking for in our fondue. But for a little bit extra, so this is a 18-month, maybe 22-month Valo Gruyere. Valo is an affineur, a very, very famous and successful award-winning affineur in Switzerland, and he brings this one on. I absolutely adored it. Bought it yesterday from my cheesemonger in Lewis. I fell in love. Almost ashamed to put it in the fondue, but this is what we're going to use to give the fondue real, I don't know, just so much more than just cheese, real flavor. Okay. So let's go. What do we do first? Grate the cheese. Often when I'm having dinner parties with fondue, I'll get the guests to turn up early and get them to grate my cheese for me, because it really is a very quick recipe. It takes 10 to 15 minutes once you start cooking it. So it's really not that much. The issue is in the prep and good ingredients. Once you've got those two, then this can turn around just while the guests are in the house. And it's really fun. People really enjoy coming in and having a little bit of cheese with you. By the way, in case you're wondering, it really is true that grated cheese tastes better than ungrated cheese. It's not strictly true that it does make it taste better. It makes the cheese more accessible. It makes the cheese's flavors come up more quickly and arrive in your taste buds and in your nose to give the flavor. Believe it or not, it's my daughter's 7 and 8. My daughter's first fondue tonight. I'm not absolutely certain they're going to go for it. Despite being given an awful lot of cheese, generally they're not that kind of adventurous. Do we want to taste that? Yes, we do. It's quite got like a drum beat to it, kind of like, you know, when you're really beginning to want to feel the need to dance. That's what this cheese delivers me. So that's it. Nice there. Right, time to put in the Gruyere. So a reminder that about 1 to 3, 1 to 4 with the body cheese and the flavor cheese. You can use a large number of cheeses, but the real trick is to make sure they're Swiss or Alpine cheeses. What you're looking for is that continuous curd made using Alpine techniques, which basically means that we've got high scald, to get a bit technical for you. It's got high scald, and we're using plasmin for our breakdown of our proteins, and we get a very good set with the rennet, because it's got a relatively high pH, low acidity. But there we go. We're going to mix it in. They will melt at roughly the same format. That, believe it or not, is for 2 people. I know my girls in theory are going to have some, but whoa, that is enough cheese. Right, give me a second to clear this away. We're going to need the heat. Righty-ho, so we're back in the house. We have ready to cook. Now I've swapped pans just for the purposes of filming, but it actually is quite convenient to use a bigger pot, particularly if you're making for a number of fondues and you need to decant it when you get to table. So I've got this is a chasseur, nice French made. The first thing we're going to do is we've got a little bit of garlic here. We're going to rub that. Right, I've turned this on, so make sure I don't burn myself. Now some people take the garlic out, others leave it in. I have to say, I've taken to leaving the garlic in, the big pieces. We'll remove it later. In fact, I'm going to put in an extra bit of garlic. I think there's no harm in this, right? So I'm just going to put in a little chunk like that. We'll pick them out later. Right, next we're going to need some wine. Looks like an eggnog, doesn't it? A little bit of steam. There we go. Right. Let's turn that down. Start cooking that. Right. Now I probably had it on slightly too big a heat, so let's bring that right down and let it get it melting. We're going to put in a little more wine later. Oh, spillage. Right, nice goings on here. Right, so we're going to need a lot more wine. I found you can't really have too much of the white wine. It does a very important job of kind of bringing it all together. Right, we're going to need a little bit of lemon juice. I don't know, about teaspoon and a half, something like that. Can you see that's beginning to come down? You always think you grated too much cheese, because of course it fluffs up, makes a big pile, and when it starts coming back to being the cheese, solid, a proper solid cheese, then it reduces, and you begin to think, oh, maybe I haven't done too much, and you'll do that 2 or 3 times. Oh, lovely. Whoa. Right, that's going to need 5 minutes or so. So let's prep the bread. Bread's not rocket science. Can you feel that? Can you see that? It's quite firm. I just prefer fondue with a bit slightly firm bread. I just think you need it to stick around. Now, there's a lot of bread snobbery out there. I am just not a bread snob. I try and avoid mass-produced, what are they, ultra-processed food kind of, because that's good for me. But the bottom line is simple, ordinary baguettes almost always work best. The reason that baguette is so much better than some loaves and that. So cheese for 2, do you think that's about right for 2 people? It's looking a bit skimpy to me. I might add some. I've got some nice white creamery in the bread bit. Let's give this a bit of a stir. You don't want this catching on the bottom. Then it can sort of brown off and not be so nice. But it's beginning to look like a wet scrambled egg now, which is a nice look. But we're beginning to get. Can you see that? Beginning to string a bit. Ooh, there we go. Which is what we want. Some people say you need to do it slowly, otherwise you will find that the cheese separates. I'm not sure about that. I've tried it most different ways and I have had it not bond together. This one is beginning not to do. I hope it's going to be all right. Let's give it a nice stir to keep it going. Mix in there. That's coming on nicely. Haven't quite got the cheese into the texture we want yet, but I can taste the garlic, I can taste the wine. So the last thing we're going to add is kirsch. Now I've tried a lot of different spirits in fondue. It's not absolutely necessary. I've tried tequila, rum I don't like very much. Tequila's alright. Gin can work. Very much for the adult palate though, gin. Kirsch has a natural sweetness, not sweetness, a natural sort of hint of cherry which implies sweetness. And so from that perspective it's rather pleasant. The alcohol is going to burn off. So if you're worried about giving strong spirits to children, that's just not a thing. So I'm going to put a little bit of this in. In fact, I think I'm going to put a little bit. And up. So, chin chin. Look, can you see how it's completely different to my previous taste? Got to go round and round. Keep those things in there. And round. Add a little bit of pepper. I think we can still bring some heat to it. I'm going to take that down to 6. And I think that is ready to go. So, it's absolutely delicious. I hope you enjoy it. I have spent an awful lot of great evenings over fondue of one kind or another. It just gets you leaning in over the same pot and being the best humans can be, sharing, loving, chatting, talking, laughing, drinking, eating. Go enjoy. Do you do fondue? Yes, you do.